Every life is a story, every moment a chapter. Here on Slow English Stories, we pause to listen.
In a kingdom long ago, there lived a king. He was famous for his wisdom. It was said that nothing in the land was hidden from him. Secrets seemed to travel to him on the wind. He understood the most hidden things, as if they were spoken aloud in his court.
But this king had a strange custom. Every day, after the great dinner was finished, a trusted servant had to bring him one last dish. The dish was always covered. It had a heavy silver lid. No one was allowed to see what was inside, not even the servant who carried it. The king would only lift the cover when he was completely alone.
This ritual had continued for many years. The servant was a young man named Conrad. He was quiet and thoughtful. He served the king with great care. He was not a man who dreamed of riches or power. Instead, he was filled with a deep curiosity. He watched the wise king. He wondered about the source of his great knowledge.
Every evening, he carried the covered dish. He brought it to the king's private room, his mind filled with questions. What secret meal gave a man such understanding? What magic lay beneath that silver cover?
One evening, Conrad carried the dish from the kitchen. His curiosity became too strong to ignore. It was a feeling like a fire inside him. It was a deep need to know the king's secret. He looked around. The halls were empty. The king was waiting in his room. With a heart beating fast, Conrad made a decision.
He did not go to the king. Instead, he carried the dish to his own small room. It was at the top of the castle tower. He carefully locked the door behind him. His hands trembled slightly. He placed the dish on his small wooden table.
For a moment, he simply looked at it. The silver reflected the low light of his candle. He knew he was disobeying a direct order from the king. But the desire to understand was stronger than his fear. Slowly, he lifted the cover.
Steam rose into the air. It carried a strange, sweet smell. There on the white plate, he saw a coiled white snake. It was cooked perfectly. Its scales were shining like pearls.
Conrad stared at it. His mind was racing. This was the source of the king's wisdom. He knew he should not touch it. But he could not stop himself. He thought just a small taste. What harm could one small taste do?
He cut off a tiny piece of the snake. He put it in his mouth. The moment the piece touched his tongue, something incredible happened. The quiet of his room was broken by a strange, new sound. It was a soft whispering. A chorus of tiny voices came from outside his window.
He walked to the window and listened carefully. He could see two sparrows on the stone ledge. They were chattering to each other. But now he did not just hear birdsong. He understood their words.
One sparrow was telling the other about a field of wheat. The other was complaining about a cat that had chased it. He could understand them perfectly. Eating the snake had given him a new power. he could understand the language of all animals. A world that had been silent was now speaking, and he could hear every word.
It happened that, on this very same day, the queen lost her most beautiful ring. It was a ring of gold with a large, perfect diamond. The queen was very upset. The whole castle was searched, but the ring could not be found.
Suspicion quickly fell upon Conrad. As the king's trusted servant, he was allowed to go everywhere in the castle, even into the queen's private rooms. The king ordered Conrad to be brought before him.
The king's face was dark with anger. He told Conrad that if he could not find the real thief, by the next morning he would be considered guilty, and he would be executed. Conrad tried to explain that he was innocent, but the king would not listen.
Conrad was sent away. Fear and sadness filled his heart. He did not know what to do. He went down into the courtyard. He sat by a small brook in the castle gardens. He felt his life was over.
As he sat there, lost in his dark thoughts, he saw some ducks resting by the water. They were cleaning their feathers and talking quietly among themselves. Because of his new gift, Conrad could hear them.
They were talking about their morning. Then, one of the ducks said in a sad voice, "Something feels very heavy in my stomach. I was eating so quickly this morning, under the queen's window, and I think I swallowed a ring."
When Conrad heard this, he jumped to his feet. He quickly and gently picked up the duck. He carried it straight to the royal kitchen. He found the cook and said, "Here is a fine, fat duck. Please kill her and prepare her for dinner."
The cook took the duck and smiled. "Yes," he said, "this one has been eating well." The cook prepared the duck for roasting. As he cut it open, he found the queen's lost golden ring inside.
Conrad could now easily prove his innocence. He took the ring to the king. The king was shocked. He felt deeply sorry for his mistake. He apologized to Conrad.
To make up for the terrible accusation, the king told Conrad he could ask for any favor. He offered him land, riches, and the best position in the entire court. But Conrad had changed. The world of the court no longer interested him. He refused all the king's offers.
He asked only for a horse and a little money for traveling. He wanted to see the world. He wanted to learn from the voices he could now hear. The king granted his wish. Conrad left the castle behind, ready for a new life.
Conrad rode for many days. He enjoyed his freedom. He listened to the birds in the trees, the squirrels in the forest, and the frogs in the ponds.
One day he came to a lake. He saw a sad sight. 3 fish were caught in the reeds near the shore. They were out of the water, gasping for air. Conrad could hear them crying. They were saying they were going to die. His heart was filled with kindness.
He got off his horse. He carefully lifted the 3 fish. He placed them back into the cool, clear water. The fish swam with joy. They put their heads out of the water and cried, "We will remember what you did for us. We will repay you for saving our lives." Conrad smiled and continued on his journey.
A little while later, he was riding through a forest. He looked down at the path. He saw a great line of ants moving across the dirt. His horse was about to step on them. Just then, he heard a tiny, high voice cry out in fear. It was the Ant King.
The Ant King cried, "Oh, if only this careless man and his giant horse would turn aside. They will crush all my people." Conrad immediately stopped his horse. He carefully guided it off the path. He waited patiently as the entire colony of ants marched safely across.
When the last ant was across, the Ant King called out to him, "We will remember you. One good deed deserves another." Conrad nodded to the tiny king and rode on.
His journey took him high into the mountains. There, he heard a sad sound from a nest in a tall tree. He looked up and saw 3 young ravens. They were crying with hunger. He heard them saying, "We are so hungry. Our parents pushed us out of the nest. Now we will starve to death."
Conrad felt a deep pity for the helpless birds. He looked in his bags, but he had no food. He looked at his horse, his faithful companion, the last gift from his old life. He knew what he had to do. It was a difficult and terrible choice, but his heart told him it was the right one.
He got down from his horse. He stroked its neck. He whispered a quiet thank you for its service. Then he killed his horse. He left the meat for the starving ravens. It was a great sacrifice, but he could not let the young birds die.
The ravens ate until they were strong. They hopped to the edge of the nest. They called down to him, "We will remember you. We will repay you for this great kindness."
Now Conrad was alone and on foot. He had nothing left from his past life, but he did not feel poor. He felt connected to the world. He had given everything away, and in doing so, he had found a new kind of richness.
After walking for a long, long time, Conrad arrived at a great city. The city was full of people. There was a feeling of excitement in the air. He soon learned why.
The king of this land had a daughter. She was of incredible beauty, but she was very proud. She had declared she would only marry a man who could complete a dangerous task she set for him. If he failed, he would be put to death. Many princes and knights had already tried and lost their lives.
One day, Conrad saw the princess. She rode through the city in her carriage. She was as beautiful as everyone said. But he also saw a coldness in her eyes. Even so, he was captivated by her beauty. He felt a strange desire to reach her heart.
He went to the castle. He announced that he would try to win her hand. The king warned him of the danger, but Conrad's mind was made up.
For the first task, the king took him to the cliffs by the sea. He held up a golden ring. Then he threw the ring far out into the ocean. It disappeared beneath the waves. "Your task is this," the king said. "Bring me that ring from the bottom of the sea. If you return without it, you will be thrown into the water to join it."
Conrad looked at the vast, gray sea. He felt a deep sense of hopelessness. How could any man do this? He walked down to the shore. He stared at the water, his heart heavy.
As he stood there, wondering what to do, he saw something moving in the waves. 3 fish were swimming towards him. He recognized them at once. They were the 3 fish he had saved.
The largest one was carrying a mussel shell in its mouth. It swam right up to Conrad. It dropped the shell at his feet. Conrad opened it. Inside, shining in the sunlight, was the king's golden ring. He was filled with gratitude.
He took the ring back to the astonished king. The king was ready to agree to the marriage. But the princess was not. She looked at Conrad's simple clothes. Her pride would not allow her to marry a common servant.
So, she created a second task. She ordered servants to bring 10 large sacks of millet seeds. They took the sacks to a great lawn in the castle garden. They tore them open, scattering the tiny seeds all over the grass.
"You must gather every single seed," she told him, "before the sun rises tomorrow morning. If even one seed is missing, you will fail." Conrad looked at the lawn. It was like a green ocean filled with millions of tiny stars. The task was impossible.
He sat down in the grass. He was too tired and discouraged to even begin. He soon lay down and fell into a deep sleep.
He woke up just as dawn was touching the sky. He sat up, expecting to see the grass still covered in seeds. But he saw a miracle. All 10 sacks were standing in a neat row, and they were all completely full. Not a single grain was left on the grass.
As he watched, the last few ants were carrying seeds. They were marching up the side of a sack. The ant king he had saved stood proudly on top of one of the sacks. He had brought his entire colony. They had worked all through the night to repay Conrad's kindness.
The princess came to the garden. She was sure that she would find him defeated. When she saw the full sacks, she was shocked. But her heart was still not satisfied. She said, "You have completed 2 tasks. But there is one more. You must bring me an apple from the tree of life."
This was the most difficult task of all. The tree of life was not a real place on any map. It was a thing of legend. Conrad had no idea where to go. But he did not give up. He simply walked out of the city gates and started his journey, trusting that the world would guide him.
He walked for many days, through forests and over mountains. Finally, tired and hungry, he sat down to rest. As he sat there, he heard the sound of wings. He looked up. He saw 3 large ravens flying down towards him. They were the young birds he had saved, now grown into strong, magnificent creatures.
"We know what you seek," one of them said. We heard the princess's demand. The tree of life stands at the end of the world, where we can fly. We will bring the apple for you. The 3 ravens flew off into the sky.
Conrad waited. After a long time, he saw them returning. One of them was carrying something in its beak. It was a golden apple. It seemed to glow with a soft, warm light from within. The raven dropped the apple gently into Conrad's hands.
Conrad returned to the castle. The entire court gasped when they saw the glowing apple. He had done the impossible. He walked through the silent crowd. He went directly to the princess.
He stood before her. He looked into her proud, beautiful eyes. He held the apple out to her gently. "This is for you," he said. "But it is a gift from the tree of life. Such a gift should be shared."
The princess was stunned. No one had ever spoken to her with such simple honesty. This young man offered only to share. She looked at the glowing apple, then back at his kind face. For the first time, her pride began to melt away. She slowly nodded.
Conrad took a small knife. He carefully cut the apple into 2 equal halves. He gave 1/2 to her. He kept the other for himself. And there, in front of the whole court, they ate the apple together.
As the sweet taste filled her mouth, the princess felt a warmth spread through her heart. The coldness she had held inside disappeared. All her pride vanished. And in its place, a deep and true love began to grow.
They were married. Their wedding was a great celebration. Their life together was a happy one. Conrad did not rule with secret, hidden knowledge. Instead, he shared his gift with his wife. Together, they learned to listen to the world with open hearts.
They ruled their kingdom with a wisdom that came not from power, but from compassion for all living things, great and small. And so, they lived in peace and happiness, growing old together in a kingdom that had finally learned the language of kindness.